Hey guys, it's Sythen here with another HL2 mapping video tutorial. So in this video tutorial we're going to cover the basics, which is the user interface and how to navigate through the viewport. We're going to select Half-Life 2 Episode 2, which is under the Source Engine 2009 selection. The only reason why I'm using Episode 2 is because it's the latest game supported on the Orange Box engine. From under there we also have Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. You can use these if you want to, but I'm going to use Episode 2. So we're going to open up Hammer then. Wait for it to load. And once it's open, we're going to close this messages window and go to File and New. Now, if your viewport is messed up, like each viewport isn't evenly spaced, press Control and A, and this will center our viewports correctly. I'm going to start by explaining all these tools on the left side. This is our main toolbar and incorporates all the options on the right side, which are kind of like the tools options. So the first option on the left is our selection tool. It works like selecting in any other program. Basically, you left click and drag in our 2D viewports or orthographic viewports, and then let go and press enter, and it will select anything in that marquee selection. Underneath that, we've got our magnify tool, which I'm not going to actually cover. It's basically for magnifying these viewports here. But the reason why we don't use it is because navigation in the other viewports is easier and actually can be done with hotkeys as opposed to going over here and selecting this tool. So you can use it if you want, select it and then just click in any of the viewports to zoom, but I would much rather just go back to the selection tool and selecting. The camera tool, I'm going to explain this in a different tutorial, in the future tutorial, because it's actually how we're going to start off our map. Now I'm going to leave it for now because it's better explained when we're actually starting our level. Underneath that, we've got our entity tool. Our entity tool, once we activate it, activates this menu over here. An entity is basically any form or any object in a level that contains code. So you've got everything from the point where your player starts to actual lights in the game, to different models like chairs and tables, to items. You've also got NPCs or non-player characters. This is everything from fast zombies to dog to Kleiner, even Alex. All these can be found here in the entities toolbar. Underneath that, we've got our block tool. Our block tool works the same way as the selection tool. We left click and drag out. We could also do this in any of the other two viewports, which is the bottom one here on the left and the bottom one here on the right. When we press enter this time, we create a 3D surface. Your 3D surface in your 3D viewport may not be visible at the moment. That's because you probably have 3D wireframe on. If you right click camera up the top left and click 3D shaded texture polygon, you can show that with its full texture on. By default, whenever you press enter when you're creating a block, it will apply the texture that's already selected here in this texture browser here. By clicking browse and typing in any texture like concrete, floor, or ceiling, or even posters, all these different keywords will come up with different textures. For now, we're going to use no draw. All one word, N-O-D-R-A-W. Select no draw, and then underneath that, we're going to select the apply current texture tool. Basically, this just two buttons underneath this block tool is the apply current texture. This will apply the same texture that you've selected to all the surfaces of this block. So that explains this tool. The tool over it, however, is the texture application tool. This one's a little bit more advanced, and I'll be using it when we start working with aligning our textures. But basically, this allows us to individually select different sides of our brush and apply different textures to it, such as concrete. We can apply a different texture to it. I'm just going to close this window just so that I can continue explaining a little bit more about the basics, but that'll be done in a future tutorial about texture aligning. Underneath that then, we've got our apply decals tool. For now, I'm going to explain how to actually navigate in our viewports. In our orthographic viewports, which is our 2D ones here, here, and here, we can hold spacebar and left drag to navigate. Let going of spacebar allows us to go back to selection. By scrolling in and out, we can zoom in and out. By scrolling, it will zoom in on specifically where your mouse is, so you can zoom out and then zoom into a different corner, for example, or hold spacebar to navigate to a different corner. In our 3D viewport, it's a little different. We can press W, A, S, and D to move forward, back, and strafe left and right. Or if we click the letter Z on our keyboard, our mouse becomes now like a free look tool, and W, A, S, and D will allow us to navigate. So basically, it's like spectating or flying around in a multiplayer match, for example. I'm just gonna fly over here on top of our brush that we've created. I'm gonna press the Apply Decal tool, click Browse, and type in Poster. From here, we got a load of different textures that have decal written underneath it. When you've got a texture that has got decal written underneath it, it's got an alpha map, which basically means that the areas around the parts that are posters are transparent. So we can put this on and actually apply it to our brush, kind of like a second texture. I'm going to go into our Texture Application tool, left click the top surface, go Browse, and type in Floor. Now I know this is getting a little bit touchy in terms of advanced enough for a basic tutorial, but I just want to show what the decal tool actually does. The next tool underneath is the overlay tool, and the overlay tool actually works the same way as the decal tool, except with the overlay tool you can actually change the size of the decal and maybe make it bigger or smaller. Now note, when you make it bigger, the texture becomes a little bit less resolution. But again, the decal tool and the decal tool and the overlay tool will be used in a future tutorial, and I'll explain a lot more about how to apply them. Apologies for that being so advanced for this user interface tutorial, but I just wanted to show what these tools actually do. Underneath that, then we've got our clipping tool and our vertex manipulation tool. These are basically ways of manipulating brushes in our level for creating intricate architecture like pillars, for example. We can use the clipping tool by left clicking and dragging to create a line that will split our brush in two. By clicking it once, we've got one side of the brush red. That part of the brush will be deleted and the white part will actually stay. If we click the click the clipping tool again, it will cut the opposite side. And then clicking it a third time will keep both sides but cut them in two nonetheless. And you can press enter to split those. So now there are individual brushes that you can select. You could also delete the top half, for example, creating a ramp. I just press Z there to navigate around and then Z to knock that off. Okay. The final tool is the vertex tool. This basically allows us to select individual points of a brush and change the shape of the brush so that we can get different kind of surfaces. Note that if you're ever going to be manipulating a brush, you cannot make it concave. All brushes have to be convex. If you wanted to make a concave surface, you'd have to create it out of various brushes, but you cannot use one brush to create a concave surface. Otherwise, when you're actually building your map and putting it into the game, you'll come up with errors. So this tutorial is basically going over just all the different options that are available in the user interface. You'll actually get used to them more when you're working with your level. Thanks very much for watching this tutorial. In our next tutorial, we're actually going to work on building the basics of our first level. Thanks for watching.